Hello and welcome to Hyper Production with me, Rory. I thought I'd do something a little bit different with today's episode and give you a tour of our studio to show you what equipment that we are working with. So stay tuned. Okay, so here we are in the studio. So the first bit of equipment I'm going to show you is our trusty Oberheim and Viscount. It was a joint venture, the MC2000EX. Now this is a master MIDI controller with 4 MIDI outs, 2 MIDI ins and 2 MIDI throughs. Now as the name suggests, I do use this as a master MIDI controller just purely so I can have the 88 keys, so the full octave range, and obviously I can get the feel of the weighted keys as well. So if there's any sort of piano bits that I want to do, or maybe some strings and offer a bit more expressiveness, I can then turn to this bad boy and obviously I can use that. So coming up next, we've got the Yamaha DX27. This was a famous FM synthesis back from the 80s, part of obviously the very famous DX range. So that includes the DX21, DX7 and the increasingly rare DX5. So this was obviously very well known for its FM synthesis, especially sort of those bell pianos, sort of those belly type sounds, maybe sort of slightly roady sounds. But yeah, so that's quite cool. There's not really much to say about this. As I say, this is kind of like the cheaper end of the DX family. We did have a DX7 down here, but we've recently sold it because I'm having a bit of a change around in here. Up next, we've got the Korg Poly 800. This is a 4-voice polysynth, and this has a lot of kind of cool saw-toothy sounds to it. It's quite raw, it's quite aggressive. You do get a couple of like softer paddy sounds from it as well. Very easy to program. It was a bit of a joke when it sort of came out because of its toyish nature. It looks more like a kid's toy than it does an actual sort of pro audio bit of equipment, but it sounds good, get some cool sounds out of it. And yeah, that's pretty cool. So all the audio out of all the synths go into this here. This is the PV8. Why they called it PV8, I don't know, but anyway, it's called that. So this is an 8-channel mixer where all the audio goes into. I have all the MIDI information coming out either my audio interface, or I've just got it on the MIDI out on our controller on the desk, which I'll show you in a minute, which then controls some of these so then I can sync it up to the DAW. The rack that it's sitting on is a Jasper rack. I know for a fact when I first started looking at sort of synth racks, I didn't know where to start. So there you go. So it's a Jasper rack. You can normally find them on toman.de. They're quite cheap, relatively sort of about 200, 250 mark, depending on how big you want them. You obviously get the really tall ones that can fit more synths on it. So at a push, this can fit about 6 at a time. But obviously I've got this beast in the middle here taking up majority of it. And as I say, we did have a DX7 at the bottom here, but we had to get rid of it. So that's that side. This is the synth section. Let's move on to the next bit. Okay, so first up on the racks here, we have the Roland Super JV 1080 sound module. So this is complete with, well, I've got a load of the expansion cards in there, such as piano, orchestra, and I've got the dance expansion pack in that as well. This was made in the 90s, and it just gives you a lot of those sort of 90s pianos, pads, and a lot of other cool little sounds in there as well. It's well worth exploring. You can pick these up pretty cheap now. I think I picked this one up for about £160, which is roughly about $200. It's well worth getting. You get some really cool sounds out of that as well. Just below that, we have the Therman M10XE. This is a power conditioner, so I've got this running in from the mains, and then on the output of this, I have all my plug sockets, which then powers all the rest of the equipment. So it just basically cleans up the electrical power that you have coming in from the mains, and just basically conditions it so that all your equipment is running at the right voltage and gives it a bit more life. Just below this, we have the Yamaha Professional Series P2050. Now this is the amp for the Yamaha NS10s that I have because obviously their passive speakers are not active. You need an amp to power them, and that's what that is. It's a bit of a beast and it weighs quite a bit, so I've got that in the rack as well. And then over on the right hand side of the desk in this second right hand bay, at the top here I have the Persona Central Station. Now what this is, I have the audio output coming from the audio interface below here, which I'll go into in a second. The main two channels, left and right, go into this, and then I can control my monitor sends. So I have two sets of monitors, and then I can reference between each one quite easily with a click of a button with this bad boy. I can also then switch it into mono, so I can then detail all the mono information, and then obviously toggle it off to then have a look at the stereo field as the main. This is really powerful as well in case I have any people that want to come over and collaborate and they want to show me a track. I can easily plug this in via an auxiliary, so then I don't have to then get them to send me a file on the computer and then play it that way. So with regards to collaboration and people showing me tracks, it's a really quick and easy way to then have it playing out the main monitors. In connection with the PreSonus Central Station, the main unit is over here and it's controlled by this. This is the remote that comes with it. I think you have to buy the particular package to get this. Fortunately for us, we got it secondhand at a pretty good deal at about £160, I think. Most things in there seem to be £160, but I'm not too sure why. This, you can control the talkback, so it's got built-in microphone there. We can control the main volume for the speakers, for both speakers there, and we have our speaker select. So like I mentioned, the HS80s are on A and the NS10s are on B, and then we can just flick between the two very easily. We can also control the mic volume of this bit just here, and then we can also control our input. So like I mentioned with the auxiliary cable, then we can then switch it to that and easily hear something then coming in on an auxiliary. And like I've just mentioned, just below it here is the second generation Focusrite Scarlett 18i20 USB audio interface. This is a super low latency audio interface. It's obviously rack mountable and it only takes up 1 U of rack space. So the amount of technology built into that to contain it in just one U rack space is pretty incredible. At the front here, you've got two XLR mixed with jack inputs. You have your phantom power there to select either from 1 to 4 or 5 to 8, so you don't have the phantom power going to everything, so it just saves you a little bit of power that way. You can switch 1 and 2 to instrument or line, and you also have a pad input there which reduces the gain going in. So if you've got a microphone that's particularly hot, when I mean hot, I mean in terms of it's got quite high level to it already, then you can obviously reduce the gain input via that. Obviously all the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 are inputs from the back via jack cables. You also have optical in and SPDIF as well to control your global clock. We have a couple of little dials here as well, which obviously shows you your audio inputs and your output. We've got a monitor here. Obviously we have that all the way up because we're feeding that into this, so we want the full amount of signal coming out of that, and then this is going to control our volume for the room. Here we also have our headphone outputs. Combined with that, we have a total of 4 headphone outputs, which is really handy in case we've got more than sort of 1 or 2 people in here. They can all each have their own headphone mixes. Again, like I mentioned earlier, with the master MIDI controller over on the left hand side of the room, I have this plugged into that as well, but this is the Native Instruments Complete Control S49. It's a 49 key basically MIDI controller. We can then control the programs on the computer via USB with this. The reason I use the Oberheim to then control this is because this is already connected to the computer and I don't have necessarily any more inputs on my audio interface for the MIDI to come in and out. So this just offers me a bit more flexibility and a bit more opportunity to then have that controlling basically what's going on with the computer, and then I can obviously get the 88 keys controlling that as well. These sort of retail, I believe, about £270 to £300 at the minute. You can obviously check on eBay or Gumtree, and then you can pick these up pretty cheap, I think now, and it comes with the, well actually you need to buy the software separately, but it's definitely a cool bit of kit. We probably will be upgrading this at some point as it's slightly limiting, but again, it looks really cool with the lights, and obviously you've got the controllable MIDI assignable knobs at the top there, which you can then assign to whatever you want in your DAW. For the main brains behind this whole operation, we are powering a 2009 Apple Mac Pro 4.1, which has been flashed with the firmware to make it 5.1. There's plenty of forums out there that you can basically refer to try and upgrade an old Mac. Don't really want to upgrade to the new stuff just yet, as this is more than powerful. Running a dual processor with the maximum amount of RAM that you can have in there, as well as with the highest processing power, running a dual 3.46 gigahertz 128 gig of RAM with an 8 gigabyte Asus RX 480, I believe it is, graphics card. So it's more than enough to power our system. You don't need this as such, as powerful as this, but because I do a lot of video editing as well as making music, I need something that's going to be a reliable workhorse for me. And to go along with the powerful graphics card that we've got an LG 2788UD, I think it's called. It's a 4K IPS monitor. So again, when I'm editing videos, it's a really good monitor to see exactly what it is that I'm editing, and I know that it's going to be looking the same on various other monitors as well. Again, this was a little bit pricey, but because, as I say, I do a lot of these videos, it's definitely something that I needed to invest in. But as I say, you don't need this to make music whatsoever. It's purely because of the additional video stuff that I do as part of this channel. For monitors, we are powering a pair of Yamaha HS80Ms, which are our main monitors. I highly recommend the HS80Ms. They've got a really good low frequency response, not too bassy, and they sound really good in this room anyway. If anyone else has got them, drop them in the comments below and let me know what you think. If you've got any other monitors that you really like and think sound great, then again, pop them in the comment section below. And then sitting above those, we have the Yamaha NS10s. Pretty much every studio that you'll go to will have these as a set of reference monitors. Now, these aren't good monitors. You do not want to get these as your main monitors, because that's not what they're for. These are for obviously referencing, and if you can get a mix sounding good on these, then you are good to go. This is all that they're used for. I don't use these as my main monitors. Every time I finish a mix, I'll just reference them quickly on them just to make sure that they sound good, and then obviously I'll switch back to the main monitors, as they've got a far better frequency response across the whole spectrum. And yeah, highly recommend them. These are becoming rarer and rarer to get in sort of decent condition. As you can see, these are slightly yellowed because they are getting pretty old now, and these, like I mentioned as well, are powered by this monitor here. And yeah, so that's our monitor setup. For a little microphone here, which I do most of my voiceovers, but I do sort of record the odd vocalist here and there, I have the SC Electronics 2000A condenser microphone, which is plugged in via the back into this audio interface here. It's phantom powered, and obviously I've got the pop shield there, and I've got the additional foam topper there as well. This is held up by a newer boom arm mic, and then I have the heel desk mountable podcast arm mount thing, which was actually quite rare to find. It took me ages to try and find that, but like I mentioned, it's pretty cool. Up last, but by no means least, we have the SKYLINE Audio Hurricane desk. This desk is a really well-built desk. They're a UK-based company. I'll pop a link in the description below. This desk cost me about £850, but I do know that the prices have gone up with the demand that they're getting, just purely because their desks are just really well built, and they're a really nice bunch of guys down there. So drop them a message on their Facebook page. Again, I'll put the link down below. Drop them a message, I'm sure they'll be more than happy to do you a good deal. So again, SKYLINE Audio Hurricane desk, definitely recommend. And there we have it. That concludes our studio tour for 2017. There's a point I just want to make before I end this video, and that is you do not need all this equipment in this room to start producing music. This is merely just a collection that I've built up over the years to make my workflow a lot quicker and easier. All you pretty much need is a laptop that can handle running a DAW and some decent headphones so you can hear exactly what it is that you're producing, and you are more than set to get starting making music. Equally, if you've got any comments or questions regarding our studio tour, then please pop them in the comments section below as usual. Please don't forget to subscribe and give this video a good old thumbs up. Equally, I would love to see your setups that you've got at home, so please follow us on Instagram @hyperproduction and simply send us a picture so we can see your setup. Again, thank you very much for watching. Take care. Bye bye. Show you a little bit about what equipment it is that we use for the channel, and show you a little bit about the equipment that we use for this channel. And then bloody hell, why can't I get it right? I'm outdoors though, so I don't really care. Look at this, dead nice.